hello, and welcome to a special edition of the Leader in Times. This is our Christmas special. Rick, we're going to talk about some fun things here.
What a great time of the year. We've got everything from Christmas parades. You're going to tell us about an event coming up here at the South Church of God. All kinds of things happening. Thanksgiving just around the corner. So Earl's going to tell us a little about a wonderful deal that happens every year. I went to it last year, and I'll let Earl tell more about it. I encourage everyone to attend.
Well, we're here on location at the South Church of God, where it's already been transformed into the Middle East. Right here behind us, this is where the inn is, where Mary and Joseph went, and where they were couldn't get into the inn, but were able to work a deal out with the innkeeper to go to the stable, to the manger. And you can see right behind my shoulder over here the manger scene. But every year here at the South Church of God, for the last 5 years, they've done a play called Living Nativity, and it's a dinner theater. And Rick, it's free. You can come here, get a great meal. You can see the tables are set up, the stage is set, the main stage looks like the River Jordan. We've got a temple over here, we've got the inn over here. This play will take place November 29th, 30th, December 1st, that's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Then we have the Christmas parade, and then Sunday, December 3rd, there will be 4 showings of the dinner theater. It's called Preparing the Way, and you can get tickets for free. All you got to do is come down to the office of the Leader in Times and get tickets. They're free, but they only have a certain amount of seats here, and so you have to come down and get a ticket so you can get that great meal and watch a great Christmas special that kind of explains the story of the birth of Christ. But also this year the focus is going to be a little bit on John the Baptist, and I think you're going to see some things maybe you haven't seen before or in a while, and brought to life right here in Liberal, Kansas, while experiencing a night of dinner theater. Rick, so you've been before?
Oh, I went last year, and let me tell you, you don't get up and go through a line or anything. They bring everything right to you. They fill your water pitcher, your tea. Always have. I believe last year was pork loin. Something's going to be different this year. It always changes. So I encourage everybody to come out. Now you want to get tickets ASAP, because this thing sells out quick, and it's absolutely free. When it sells out free. So it's a great time. We've had many of our employees come down to it. Everybody enjoys it, and it's a nice production here for Liberal, Kansas, and God bless the South Church of God for putting on this yearly event, and come and learn about a fascinating story of a little insight about John and how his parents but just come and see, come and witness and hear the real meaning of Christmas this year. Of course, well, not the meaning of Christmas this year. Every year, the real meaning behind it is the birth of Jesus Christ.
So come on down, make that plan. November 29th, 30th, December 1st, and December 3rd. So it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Come to the Christmas parade on Saturday, and then Sunday. If you couldn't make any of those dates, you can still come 6 o'clock each night that it starts. And like I mentioned, squeezed in there, it's a Christmas parade. So Rick, tell us a little bit about what happens at the Christmas parade in downtown Liberal, Kansas.
You know, a little disclaimer before, as always, the camera puts on a few extra pounds, and also there's no special effects, no makeup. Earl and I, this is our natural beauty that you're seeing here. So there's no...
Well, the pecan pie and some other things puts on a few extra pounds too, yes. Just so you know. I know holidays are coming up, just a little FYI. It's not just a camera that does that. I also want to give a shout out to Serena, who's also helping us today with run the camera. So she's part of the production team today. So thank you, Serena, for helping us out. And she'll also be helping out at the Christmas parade and helping get some folks set up to get some hot chocolate and things. But Rick, tell us a little bit about how the Christmas parade is going to work this year.
And I'll tell you a little bit about the chocolate and the opportunity for vendors to come in to set up for a charity to raise some fundraisers. Okay, December 2nd at 3 o'clock, we have the Christmas parade. We'll start off with entertainment from 3 to 6. and then at 6 o'clock will be the start of the Christmas parade. And of course, after the Christmas parade gets done, we will draw for over $8,000 worth of gift certificates, which include Scantlin's Furniture is one of our sponsors. They're giving away a dining room set. This sucker seats about 400. No, I'm just kidding, about 6. United Wireless is giving away an iPhone 8. Now, who couldn't use it? And plus some service. We got gift certificates from Flooring America, Mead Lumber, Crazy House, Freddy's, Bunkers Bar and Grill down in the old Landmark, IHOP. Textile has a remote start. It's going to get chilly here soon, so let's wait till after the Christmas parade for that to get chilly. Fire Basket is giving away a Vera Bradley bag. It looks really nice on me. I think I might just keep that one. Also, the one thing everybody loves this year, whether it's Benjamin Franklin's, Ulysses S. Grant's, McKinley, that is cash. So you will have an opportunity. 3 people will be selected. This year we'll have a first, second, and third place. So you must be present to win. Don't get your name called and not be present. Now, locations to sign up for includes tomorrow, Scantlin's from 1 to 5. Saturday.
Hey, give them dates on that, because tomorrow may not be. They could be watching this anytime.
True. Friday, what is tomorrow? Help me out here, guys.
Tomorrow is the 17th.
Friday the 17th. We don't have that on the paper, but Friday the 17th, 1 to 5. Saturday the 18th from 10 to 6 at Crazy House. Freddy's on Friday, November 24th from 11 to 2. And Friday, November 24th is 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And Friday, November 4th, Flower Basket from 1 to 4. So you go to these locations, sign up. Watch Facebook Live or YouTube Live, and you will see locations to come. Look at the newspaper for future locations to come after Thanksgiving. You must be present to win. And also, we want to thank a few sponsors, kind of our election coverage night sponsors. Ashley Furniture, that's going to help this broadcast sponsor. Cowboys Custom Cabinets, Crisenberry's Automotive, Hawkins Cleaning Service, Southwest Glass and Door, French Construction Realty One, Sepulveda's Plumbing, Heating, and Air, State Farm, Roger Crossman, Mead Lumber, and American Title Abstract Specialist. So you must be present to win. Look for the paper for locations, times, and dates, or go to leaderandtimes.com to also find out more information about the Christmas parade. Also, for anybody that's with an organization that wants to raise some extra money for a charity, get a hold of Selena at the newspaper, and you can have a hot chocolate booth or popcorn, or maybe you're going to sell pumpkin pies or cookies for a fundraiser. We will have a place that between on where One Way Deli is at, and the old Citizen State Bank building and the old Bank of America building, to have a place set up for vendors to come in there, and you can have some money. Also, if you want to be a judge, we might need a couple more judges. Okay, I just got the indication that we don't need more judges for the Christmas parade. We want to thank all of our judges for that. But if you want to raise some money, sell hot chocolate for church organization, a charity organization, get a hold of Selena at the newspaper, 626-0840, and ask her, and she will tell you all the details.
Well, and also, don't forget that there's no charge for that. If you have an organization, you want to raise some money, there's no fee to be a part of that. All you got to do is reserve your space. Space will be limited, so you got to get turned in and get your space, but there's no charge. You can just come. There's no cut. There's no anything. You get 100% of what you do. All you do is come down, sell some hot chocolate, sell something else, sell beer rock, sell anything you want to. It's really up to you, but just come and be a part of the parade and serve that. And also floats. If your organization, that's another free, not only free, but you could actually make some money, because if your float wins, there's also about $1,000 in float prizes. So you put in a float, help celebrate the Christmas season, and have a chance to win some money. Doesn't cost you anything to put in a float. Doesn't cost you anything to have a booth to sell food or whatever you'd like to sell. Just get a hold of Serena, and she can help you with getting that set up. And if you want to float, just get a hold of Trevor. And you can email Serena at hpleader.com. That's SERENA at hpleader.com. And if you want to put a float in, you can email Trevor at hpleader.com. So we'll put those down here in the comments so that you'll be able to see those and you can make a connection and be a part of the parade. So Rick, it's going to be a fun night.
It is. Also, Earl, of course, we always have our entertainment starting at 3. We'll be dancers. We want to thank it's a Dance Images. I'm sorry if and
Lana and the whole team over there will have a whole group of dancers.
Thank you for, I'm stuttering like Porky Pig. You might hear me sing Blue Christmas by Porky. Not yet, folks, but no, there'll be singers, there'll be dancers, and come out, 3 o'clock starts. So there's about 15-minute blocks for singing. I think that starts a little later. We might go with the singer, then some dancers. There might be, not for sure how that's going to flow, but John Watson always puts that together, and we want to thank John for his, provides the mic and provides the sound systems and stuff for us to have the Christmas parade. So thanks to him, thanks to the city has a trailer out there for us. Santa Claus will be there like every year, so you can get your pictures taken with Santa. Come out from 3 to 6:30 or 7-ish, something like that. And when the parade concludes, we will have over $8,000 of gift certificates, cash, furniture, prizes, and 3 people will go away, but you must be present to win. And once again, look online, leaderandtimes.com for sample locations. Call the office. Check out the newspapers for times and dates when you can go register at participating businesses.
And so Rick and I were getting in the Christmas mood and the Christmas spirit, and we were talking about these things and sharing them with you. And we thought, you know what else would be fun? Is we're going to share with you our top 5 favorite Christmas TV specials and favorite Christmas movies. Movies that we enjoy. Some of them we watch every single year. Some of them you probably watch every single year. And we haven't cross-referenced these yet. This is the first we're going to do it, and you're going to get to see it. And so we're going to share with you our top 5. We're going to start with movies. Then we'll come to the TV specials. And when we do this, you know what? You may disagree, and that's okay. You might have a different list. Down below, tell us who you think we left out, or tell us what your favorite Christmas movie is and why. But you know what's fun about this? You know, I grew up in Liberal, Kansas, and I have friends that live in some cities and stuff, and they always talk about, you know, us living out there in rural America. But we get TV too. We get movies too. And so even here in Liberal, Kansas, we can enjoy the great holiday movies and the great holiday TV specials.
Now, just real quick before into our Christmas movies, Thanksgiving, we don't want to forget about that. And I know Earl and I agree on our favorite Thanksgiving movie, which can kind of cross into a Christmas too, and that would be the great Steve Martin and the great John Candy, late great John Candy, in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. That is a mainstay. If I'm over at your house or whatever and watching Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, I know Earl loves it. It is a movie. It's not only it's a comedy, but it has some unique, what would you want to call it, emotional or a nice message. It's hilarious, but also there's some nice messages in there.
It's a John Hughes film, and John Hughes films always had that same feel-good, some comedy, but also a message of in this case, some family and friendship, which is what Thanksgiving's all about, and it's a great show. Yes, that is our Thanksgiving special. Now, the difference between me and Rick is I look more like Martin, but I have more of John Candy's spirit, and Rick looks more like John Candy, but has more of...
I can't be a cynic sometimes. So, yeah, I look more like John Candy. Can you believe that? You throw some Chris Farley in there also, some John Goodman. Also, I wanted to mention a couple of Thanksgiving specials. It's a Thanksgiving Charlie Brown. Earl loves Charlie Brown, and that's happening. Also, the great Rankin and Bass. I was noticing today they have it's called Mouse on the Mayflower. It's a Thanksgiving special. So you might look into some Thanksgiving Day specials like the ones we just mentioned. Now, before this happened, our sheets here were delivered from Hollywood, from the Price Waterhouse committee that neither one of us had seen each other's deals here. So this is top secret stuff here, just like it is at the Oscars. And Earl, I don't know how you want to go with our 5 this and 5 that, or do movies first, or do...
Yeah, we're going to start with movies. We're going to start with movies. And so I'm going to go first and drop one out there. And we're going to end with some honorable mentions.
Okay, we'll end with that.
But our 5, and this is my 5th holiday movie special, Christmas special that I love to watch and that I really enjoy, and it's Elf. And one thing I love about Elf is it's a fantasy of here's this human being that grows up thinking he's an elf, and then ends up in the big city and finds out that he's a human being and all that. But through it all, that show still has those fundamental things that I think every holiday show should have: is its family, its friendship, and both of those are in this show. It had a great cast, and it's number 5 for me, but it's one I can watch over and over during the holidays. Some shows I can watch and say, I don't know if once, 2 times maybe is enough. Not this one. I can watch this one every single year. That's my number 5, Rick.
Well, a little different with you on this one. This is a comedy. My number 5, you can identify this by "You'll Shoot Your Eye Out," or "All I Want for Christmas is a Red Ryder BB Gun." It is A Christmas Story. Is my number 5. A Christmas Story is one of them deals one of them movies that you can watch over and over. I think either TBS or WGN or somebody has a thing on like 24 or 1 right after it. Just plays the same Christmas Story over again. Of course, it has Ralphie and everything from a little one of the kids sticking his tongue to the flagpole to Pop wins the lantern, and it's a funny, feel-good movie. Kind of takes you back to your days of childhood when you do crazy things like throwing snowballs, or your aunt somebody gets you a gift every year that's the same kind of cornball gift, but it's fun. It's got a little humor. There's a bit of everything in that. So Christmas Story is a staple in the top 5.
Now that's where Rick and I are a little bit different. We're going to come back to that. He'll find out why after a while, but it's a difference between he and I on that. We both have that pick, but in different ways. I'm going to explain that later. But my number 4, movies. We're talking movies now. My number 4, and this one will be maybe a little, for people it's going to be a little bit different, but it's Gremlins. And I'll tell you why. Gremlins came out in 1984. And a lot of people may not think about that, but it was actually a Christmas release, and it was a Christmas movie. In the movie, they actually have Christmas, and they've got the Christmas decorations up. It's in the winter time, and that's when everything goes south. But it's a great holiday film. Again, family, friendship. In this case, it also is something I think that they mastered in this movie, was how to take something that maybe would be a scary movie or a monster movie and make it fun and exciting. And I think that's why it had such a mass appeal. But I remember you had the little Gremlins. They even sold special Gremlins with Santa Claus hats, and it became a kind of a big deal. But for me, a movie that I think is a special one through the holiday times, and if you haven't seen it in a while, revisit it. You may disagree with me on that, that's okay. But to me, Rick, Gremlins.
Gremlins, there are some movies like that kind of released in Christmas that I did see on some of the list, and we'll go over that in our honorable mention. Now, I'm mostly a Mogwai, the cute gremlin, but I can turn into an actually gremlin if you don't feed me before midnight. So, I can turn into a gremlin if I don't.
Rick turns into a gremlin if you don't feed him before midnight, after midnight, before sunrise, after sunrise. You gotta keep feeding Rick, and then he'll stay jolly. But you stop feeding Rick, and you got a gremlin on your hands.
I'll be a cuddly old Mogwai for that. My number 4, sticking in the comedy category. And I think my cohort here, the way he's going, I bet you he's got this one higher, but I don't know, is, now Clark, don't be falling in love with this RV, because we're going to take it with us when we leave next month. Is also another great line I love is, Clark, are you surprised? Eddie, I wouldn't be more surprised if I woke up in the morning and my head was sewn to the carpet. is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. It is another movie that you can just watch over and over, and it's got to be in everybody's library during the Christmas season. Of course, follows the adventures of Clark Griswold from the previous, from National Lampoon's Vacation to the European Vacation, in which I probably would put this one of all the vacations, probably the top one. And that's maybe a no-brainer, but it just has the comedy of Chevy Chase. The Randy Quaid plays the goofy Uncle Eddie or Cousin Eddie, and there's lines after lines of, Art, don't kiss him because he's got an unidentifiable lip fungus. I mean, it's probably one of the most quotable movies in history. So, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Russ, here you go work on this big ball of twine. We can all relate, not big ball of twine, but big twall of lights. I'm thinking of twine. I went to National Lampoon's The Vacation, where they visit the second largest ball of twine in Coolidge, Kansas. So we've been there before, where you have a spool of lights the size of the ball that rolls down Indiana Jones, and you got to try to get them out. And his frustrations not to get the lights on. We've all been there. So I got number 4 is the National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
You can't lose with that one. That's definitely a favorite. It's not in my top 5, but it's definitely a good one. My number 3, and there are different versions of this. I'm going with the movie version of How a Grinch Stole Christmas. This was the Jim Carrey version, and it's just amazing how Jim Carrey could change the Grinch into a character that you could love, that you could relate to, that just brought a new brand of comedy to that story, told it in a great way, and the makeup on that and the costumes was just outstanding. How to actually turn what was a cartoon into real life without CGI. They did it with real class and dignity, and Ron Howard was the director of that film, and that's one I can watch every year. There's just something about the comedy of Jim Carrey that's just timeless and priceless, and I really enjoyed that one. So for me, my number 3, Jim Carrey's version of How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Listen here, Cindy Lou Who. My best impression of the Grinch there. Wonderful song, The Grinch. You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. Now this is going to show a little difference here in, my parents were older when they had me. So I'm going to go off a little bit the comedy and go to some classic. At my number 3, and this has been done 40s, 50s, 60s. I mean, they have had many versions of this. Walt Disney has done a version of this with Mickey Mouse. But my number 3 is A Christmas Carol. Now, there's many versions of the Christmas Carol. I kind of like the old black and white version. The classics that lie within, if you haven't visited some old black and white films, you're just missing out on when people acted, and they relied on, the actresses and actresses relied on their talents, not taking away anything from today. We got some fine actors and actresses, but the special effects and everything that they have nowadays kind of takes away from that old way of doing movies. And George C. Scott has played a version of the Christmas Carol. Mickey Mouse. Uncle Scrooge McDuck Walt Disney has done the Christmas Carol with Mickey, and then the little Mickey as Tiny Tim. So the Christmas Carol has been done, cartoons, animated. There's probably not a decade that somebody hasn't had done the Christmas Carol. Of course, the story of Ebenezer Scrooge, who is just Ebenezer Scrooge, but his heart turns around through a series of visions, which I think correlate with he finds God. He may not come out and say that, but it's just a great story, and of course by one of the greatest authors ever. And my wife's favorite author is Charles Dickens, and you can't go wrong with the Christmas Carol, but that kind of changes up in a comedy. So Earl's going to go with number 2, Earl.
Well, and what's kind of ironic about that is my number 2 is A Christmas Carol, but it's the one Christmas Carol you didn't mention. It's the Jim Carrey Christmas Carol that was done just a few years ago, and it was CGI. But again, Jim Carrey, after bringing the Grinch to life, he brings Ebenezer Scrooge to life. And it was a movie that really stuck with the book a lot better than some of the others did. He was doing the original lines and just delivered it well. And again, it was a visual masterpiece. If you watch some of the very beginnings of it, the camera escapes come over the top of London and sweep in, and they go down the streets, and even to some of the people who were cooking for the royalty, and they tossed the kids some crumbs. But it's a great story. It's told in a great way. So we agree on that one, just different numbers. It's my number 2, and it's a different version. But again, Rick's an old man, I'm still young, so I took the younger version, and Rick took the old black and white version, but still, it's a great movie either way. What do you have at number 2?
Now, number 2, I'm sticking with the black and white version of this classic. It's Miracle on 34th Street. They did do one in 1994, which it has a gentleman, I think, that done Sir Robert Attenborough, or he was in Jurassic Park. He plays a Santa Claus in this one. But the Miracle on 34th Street in the black and white version in 1947. It is of course, you all know the story about Santa Claus is, I know people would differ on how things, but he is a spirit of giving. He is, but behind the scenes on Santa, if you will notice on this, that they always reference the real reason for the Christmas season. And Santa Claus is giving, a little background on that. It's been around, what did I figure out, 250 or something AD. Started as St. Nicholas, and is through the year has developed into, the Santa Claus comes from, in Norwegian or Dutch, St. Nicholas, the version of it is Sinster. Sinster Claus is the version of when it translates. So it was hard to say Sinster, so they started saying Santa Claus. So Miracle on 34th Street, of course, kind of relates back to Yes, Virginia. There is a Santa Claus, and it's a spirit of giving and a spirit of other things behind the scenes. So Miracle on 34th Street has been done before, has been done in cartoons, but I like the 1947 black and white version. And number 1, Earl, for you.
Well, and right before I give my number 1, I'm going to give my honorable mentions. Miracle on 34th Street is one of my honorable mentions. A Christmas Story as a movie is one of mine. It's a Wonderful Life is one of mine. White Christmas is one of my honorable mentions. These are all the classics. These are all great movies that lead you up into the modern era, and still provides that tradition of family, friendship, love, and faith that is part of the whole Christmas season. So those are my honorable mentions. Now my number 1, the number 1 movie I can watch in July. I can watch it anytime. And it's a visually appealing show. It's a great story, great lines, and one super song. But it's The Polar Express. And The Polar Express tells a story of a little boy who's right at that age when maybe you start questioning whether there really is a Santa Claus. And in the middle of the night, he hears the ringing of the bell of the train, and he comes out and he gets one last chance of believing on this trip to the North Pole. And Tom Hanks plays 4 or 5 characters in this show. He's the voice of the little boy, he's the voice of the conductor, he's the voice of Santa Claus, he's the voice of the dad, he's the voice of the bum on the train. He just performs, and every one of those you wouldn't know unless you saw the credits that he was doing each one of those separately. And it also tells a story of a little boy who's maybe from the wrong side of the tracks and doesn't always experience Christmas in a fun way, and maybe doesn't get a present every year. And he's also at that point of not believing, and he gets his last chance to go to the North Pole as well. And these boys and a little girl become friends on the train, and it just tells a great story. And there's a song in there called "When Christmas Comes to Town," and if you look that up, and I'll maybe put a link below to hear "When Christmas Comes to Town," it's a great song. And this is not a musical; it's just one song in there that they blended in. And there are some background music that's also outstanding in this show, but the visuals, it's a very early, it's one of the first movies, I think, right after Avatar, or around Avatar, that was 3D, the new 3D. So for me, you want to experience Christmas, you want the kids to enjoy it, and you want grandma to enjoy it, find a copy of the Polar Express, and that's my number one. Rick?
You know, and you are right. That is a good. Speaking of Santa Claus, I still believe in Santa Claus, and I'm 50 years old. In fact, I've actually helped out Santa Claus and been one of his representatives. Had a couple of deals. Of course, my beard's quite not, that's what you might think I'm growing my beard out for. I don't think it'll grow that long. So if I do play Santa Claus this year, or help Santa Claus this year as one of his helpers, that I will be that way. Now, I'm going with, my dad was 47 when he had me, and my mother was 33. And this movie here means probably, there's two movies that relate with my mom that, before I get to that, my honorable mentions, White Christmas with Bing Crosby, Danny Kaye, Rosemary Clooney. George Clooney's mother was in White Christmas. Also, there's another great movie I like. It's called Holiday Inn. That's with Fred Astaire and Bing Crosby. Then a movie I just saw last year. It's a black and white. It's called Holiday Affair with Robert Mitchum. And I had the Gremlins. This is along the line of movies that I'd seen on a list. They include Die Hard as a Christmas movie. If you'll notice, there's a Lethal Weapon as a Christmas movie. Of course, the Polar Express, Fred Claus is another comedy. If you're going with a comedy line, Trading Places is in that. I love Trading Places. Another comedy that I know Earl likes, we like this character, Tim Allen, in the Santa Claus. But my number one, every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wing, is It's a Wonderful Life. Along with this movie and The Wizard of Oz. Basically, my mother's two favorite films, and I love my mother dearly. And every time I watch It's a Wonderful Life, of course, it's saying how important each and every one of us is. Like George, I wish I'd never been born, and I know that probably most everybody might think that at one time in our life. But whatever situation you're in, we're glad. God knew you before he was even born. So the message that every life is important. Don't make a difference if you're maybe out of a job and maybe things aren't going so good, or you're the President of the United States, or you're Bill Gates, or you're a multi-billionaire. Every life is precious. Every life is important. And no movie says that, Earl, like It's a Wonderful Life. Of course, the great Jimmy Stewart. Just a class act of the old Hollywood of actors that will never be seen before. And so It's a Wonderful Life is my number one. I know it was in your honorable mention. Kind of a little difference tells kind of our age here, even though we're about 4 or 5 years apart. Earl's kind of the more of a comedy type of deal, but with my upbringing of older parents, I come up with the black and white side. So it's a good yin and yang.
I grew up with my grandparents also, and so there are some of those classics in there. But those 4 or 5 years between us are a big, big difference. I'm probably an Xer to the bone. Rick might be a little just right on the fringe of the boomers, but those are all great movies. And again, you can't go wrong. I'm not right. Rick's not wrong. These are our opinions, what movies we like to watch. You might like to watch these movies. You might like to watch some others. Let us know down here. Tell us what your favorites are. Those are just some movies that we went through. And we're going to move on to some TV specials.
Oh, boy.
And, TV specials, this is where, and this is why I said later we're going to talk about Christmas Story, because again, it's age difference. Rick might have been alive when this thing was a movie, but I wasn't, or I don't remember it. But to me, when you talk about TV shows, and he mentioned it was on, it's always on a 24-hour special, A Christmas Story. That's a TV thing to me, not a movie thing, but it was a movie originally, so I understand that. But for my generation, for most of you out there listening, except for the ones who are Rick and older, it's a television special every year, and they even made it so that it's a 24-hour special with the dogs running in and knocking over Christmas dinner and stuff. We never had things like that, but it was like real family. It wasn't like this made-up Hollywood version of a family. These guys were in Cleveland, and it was just real. And that's what I loved about it. It was so real, and the kid getting in trouble for letting a bad word slide through, and mom making him eat the soap. You know, that was real life when we were kids, so that wasn't just made up stuff. So to me, my fifth place television special is A Christmas Story.
Now, if you know anything about Earl, I've known him for a long time and have heard marvelous stories of if there's any family with his brother David, and his Uncle Eddie, and Uncle Al, and living with the grandparents there on not Pine Street, but on Pershing Street, that if there's anybody that I know, human being, that lived a life of just kind of, maybe not just the craziest stories in the world, Earl's going to write a book someday about how kind of crazy things happened in the neighborhood, from fort wars to rock wars to just doing kind of the crazy stuff, BB guns and shooting, kind of like they did in Christmas Story. So
if we ever do write that, I'll make sure it's a at least PG. It's good stuff. It's all clean. But we grew up in a different era, and the whole town was a playground.
Now I kind of went a different, and you're right. The modern people, or young, those at the under age of 40 or 45 would view the Christmas Story as a TV deal. I put it in my movie category. I've got number 5, a cute deal that's from some of my favorite animators. They have stop motion, but this one's a cartoon. It's Bass and Rankin's Frosty the Snowman. I love Frosty the Snowman. Thumpity thump thump, look at Frosty go, and they have great music in it, and it's just a wonderful story. Of course, the kids always you kind of get teared up when you're a little guy. You don't see Frosty go, but he always comes back. And so I got Frosty the Snowman at number 5, kind of sticking to my old specials, which was on TV. So Frosty the Snowman at number 5, great cartoon.
Can't go wrong with Frosty. That's a great one. I've got a cartoon at number 4. Well, no, I take it back. It's not cartoon. It's stop action. It's the Bass and Rankin again. But, and there may be more than one on somebody's list, but this one is one I really enjoyed, and it is the Santa Claus is Coming to Town special. And I even still have it on my DVR, and I've even watched that during some other times of the year, because I just enjoy that story, the way that they tell it so much. And this is going back to find out how Santa Claus came to be Santa Claus, and how he ended up with the elves and
Kris Kringle
and became a Kringle, and the Burgermeister is in this one, and
Burgermeister.
Meisterburger, and I love this one, but this is one I think shows a difference between TV today and when this thing was made, and I think it was made in the late 60s.
Yep.
But it tells a story of Santa Claus getting married, and in there it mentions how he got married out in the wilderness with just the animals and the Lord, and you just don't always hear that these days in all of the other ways to tell the story of Christmas and the commercialization of it and all of that, and the happy holidays mentality. But here we are talking about Santa Claus and and him getting married in the presence of the Lord. And I've always found that special, and always how to tell the story so that kids who might have questions about Santa Claus and his origins, this one helps fill those gaps in.
And you're right, you can't, the Rankin and Bass are just, it's hard to put them in any order. I love them all. And at number 4, I do have a Rankin and Bass film, and along with The Little Drummer Boy. Of course, the young man goes and he meets up with the wise men. Little drummer boy has no gifts for the baby Jesus, but he plays his drum for Christ. So once again, just like in about the reference to God and the marriage, Bass and Rankin includes importance and the reason behind Merry Christmas and Christ in Christmas. The reason why it's such a wonderful little story, Little Drummer Boy, about he has nothing. And that right there, whether you have tens of 1,000 pounds of gold or you're the little drummer boy and you're in front of Christ, and if all you can do is play the drum or sing, it doesn't make a difference if you have money. If you don't have money, Christ accepts you the way you are, poor, homeless, whatever it may be. So the little drummer boy, I've got coming in at number 4.
Not bad, and I'll revisit that later, so it's on my list. It's just not at number 4. But my Rankin and Bass number 3, it's not just Rankin and Bass ones that we're doing, it's all Christmas specials, but my number 3, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. You got to have Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I mean, that thing is probably the most popular holiday special every year. And that's because, one, I think it's one of the rare ones that was an hour long. I think the rest of them were about 30 minutes. But Rudolph, another overcomer story of, the little deer that wasn't like everybody else and was kind of picked on, didn't get to play any reindeer games. And he runs across the elf who's also wants to be a dentist. And
a dentist?
And so here you've got these misfits that end up on the island of misfit toys, and they meet Yukon Cornelius. And I mean, it's just a childhood story that just goes with you in life. And my girls, they're in their teens now, but they'll probably tell you, I'm the one saying, when's Rudolph on? I want to see the specials, and I know you can record those things and we can have the DVDs of them, but there's just something special when it comes on TV and you watch these specials. And Rudolph was always one that every year, and we all know the outcome, but you're always like, oh, will he save Christmas this year? And of course, Christmas is always saved, but just something that's always been a part of my life, my childhood, my adulthood, my children, sharing it with my children. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
It is, we're not a couple of nitwits, we're just a couple of misfits. I love that. Good music. Burl Ives sings in it. Just a wonderful, Charlie the Snowman, I believe his name is. Is that right, Charlie? Or I can't.
No, Charlie is the Jack in the Box is Charlie in the box.
Jack in the Box, yeah, it's Charlie.
Yeah.
I can't look up that rogue if you can. The Burl Ives. At number 3, now this is where that I kind of go with How the Grinch Stole Christmas, but the classic cartoon version of How the Grinch Stole Christmas. That is my. Not saying anything from the Jim Carrey's movie, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, but when you're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. I love, it's one of my favorites. I got How the Grinch Stole Christmas, number 3. And of course, the message behind that is, even though the Grinch steals everything, he steals the roast beef, or roast beast, I think, and steals the last Who hash. But of course, the Who's wake up, and what do? They gather around the Christmas tree in the middle of, there's I guess a Christmas tree in the square's stolen, so they just gather around, join hands in hands, and it's not about the presents, it's not about what you receive or this or that. It's about love, it's about family, it's about coming together, and you hope in this season that you maybe let somebody go in front of you more than any other time of the year in the checkout line, or maybe you let somebody go in front of you in traffic, and I think that's from a movie I'm thinking about that they say that this is a time of the year that people kind of do a little extra, maybe throw a little extra in tithing or something. But the great How the Grinch Stole Christmas. At number 3 on a TV show, the cartoon version, Earl. And you're number 2.
And my number 2 goes back to one of your previous ones, but it's a Little Drummer Boy. And it runs a little higher for me. I rated it a little bit higher than you did. This one has always touched me in a special way. And I'm telling you, to this day, right before that song starts, I still get a little choked up just because of that message. But just to go back on it just a little bit, it's a story of the little boy whose family was killed by some marauders, and so he gets his animal friends, and they kind of grow up in the desert somewhat, and then this showman, the desert showman, captures him and uses him for entertainment and things like that because he could drum and the animals will respond to him and do all that. And then when he kind of gets taken advantage of and he runs away after the guy's already made all the money off of him, one of his animals gets hurt. And there's no way to save the animal. There's just, the animal is going to die. And so with that situation going on, he goes to the 3 kings. He sees the 3 kings that are coming, following the star, and he tells them, you're great, you're powerful, save my animal. And they tell him, I'm just a king of men, but there's a king among kings who can help you. And it's the baby in the manger. And, and he says, but I have no gift. And he says, go. Just go to him. And that message to me says so much. It's not about your situation or your circumstances. Just go. Just go to him. Just go to Christ. Just go see Jesus. And whatever you're facing in life, whatever difficulties, whatever someone might be bringing against you or whatever might not be going your way, just go. Just go to him. And I love that, and that strikes me every time. And if you watch it this year, you watch for that line. And you let that line hit you right between the eyes just a little bit. And you watch this little boy who doesn't understand. And that's another great line that the king tells him. It's not important that you understand. Go. Go to him. And so that's my message for folks. And that's the reason why that one is a little bit special to me. And also at the very end of it, the narrator shares a line out of Scripture. And she says, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. And so it's not what someone else may say about you. It's not how someone else may perceive you. But if you can be pure of heart, you will see God. And I hope that that's the message. We got to remember the reason for the season. And the Little Drummer Boy brings that home.
And you're right as rain, Earl. Along with pure of heart, humble. Very important message to be humble. Many lessons and parables about being humble in the way you serve people, whether it be an official or each other. So pure of heart and humble is a way. Now, number 2, my friend here, this is his number 1. I can already tell which one is his number 1. I haven't seen it, but I'm 99.99% sure that because it has a special message also. And it is, and my number 2 is a Charlie Brown Christmas. Here is the old Charlie Brown, kind of the old boy that kind of finishes last, and he tries, and but he keeps on going. He keeps on going, and of course Linus has a part in here to where, now this is where I don't like people messing with stuff. I have seen versions of this to where they cut out, and that just boils me. And of course, the world has hated him long before they have hated believers. And this is part of the world here when they do this, and they leave out the part of Linus because, it might offend somebody. Well, if it offends you, don't watch it. So the part that Linus says in this movie is great, and it saddens me that they take this out of some versions of it to be politically correct. But that political correctness, that's the world speaking there. And the little Christmas tree. It's kind of the Little Drummer Boy, the symbol of the little Christmas tree with that Charlie Brown gets, and it has an ornament here, and it's not the huge one that's in New York or the Times Square wherever that they have the big Christmas tree. But it doesn't matter to Charlie Brown. This Christmas tree symbolizes, like the little drummer boy, like misfits. You can see the messages in these wonderful, sometimes they're hidden, sometimes they're not out and open, but you see the message in these wonderful movies. And I'm thinking, I'm right on my number one. Correct me if I'm wrong, my friend.
Well, I'll get to that. You're not
Honorable
wrong.
mention.
You're not wrong, but yeah, we'll go through some honorable mentions first, and then we'll get to number one. These are going to be some, and these are going to be a little bit, some may not relate to these, that's okay, but I want to remind you of some, but share maybe some new ones with you. One of my honorable mentions, a claymation Christmas special. You may not remember this. You remember back when the California raisins were big? You remember all of that? Well, they put together a Christmas special during that time period, and they do these little songs, and it's these dinosaurs talking about what wassailing means. What does wassailing mean? And they're trying to figure all that out through this. Waffling at some time. They got a guy with waffles that comes in, but they're trying to figure all this out. But there's a version of Joy to the World that's in there.
Joy to the world.
That's sung much better than that. And they did a great job with the Joy to the World. And the California Raisins sing the Rudolph song, and there's some. Oh, there's a bell when they're doing Carol of the Bells, but Quasimodo is the conductor of this bell choir, and they have hammers, and they hit themselves with the hammer to play that song, and one of them's not too bright. And so he has a little problem in the song, but that's what's kind of funny about it. But that's one of my honorable mentions, Claymation Christmas Special. Ernest Saves Christmas. Who doesn't love Ernest? Everyone remembers, hey Vern, it's Ernest. You gotta love Vern. You gotta love Ernest. And he did a Christmas special. And it was probably a movie, but in my time, those things became TV specials real quick. And it's not on every year. You kind of have to look for it. But if you can find Ernest Saves Christmas, I recommend that one. Here's one that is a TV regular show, but it was a special, and it was actually the first edition of this show, and that is The Simpsons Christmas Special. And it was Santa's Little Helper when they got their dog, and Homer doesn't get his bonus, and he's got to be a Santa Claus to raise some money, and he ends up getting almost nothing because of all the deductions out of his check. So they go to the dog track to see if he can win something. And he thinks it's a sign to bet on Santa's Little Helper, and Santa's Little Helper's a horrible dog, but he ends up getting kicked out, and so they end up adopting Santa's Little Helpers. Great Christmas story, and so and that's the very first Simpsons. Episode 1 is the Christmas special. Another special that is on my honorable mention list is The Year Without a Santa Claus. And that's another Rankin and Bass, another stop action. And two things I love about that are the Heat Miser and the Cold Miser. But I love the Heat Miser.
I'm the Cold Miser.
Rick can tell you, I like it warm. I like it 101.
Now, basically, they're the same difference, but you have the physical characteristics of Cold Miser, being tall and skinny. I have more the characteristic of Heat Miser being chubby, but then also the Heat Miser's red. So, go figure.
But I love that one. I love that little song. I can sing it with the girls to this day, and they know when I break into the Heat Miser, they probably head for the hills. But yeah. But now my number one, and Rick is right, my number one's a Charlie Brown Christmas. Charlie Brown is my hero, and I have a little Charlie Brown on my desk, and the reason he's my hero is, how many times you try to kick a football and they pull the football out from under you, yet he still tries? How many times you try to fly a kite and the tree keeps eating your kite and you still try? How many times you try to win a baseball game and you've never won a baseball game and you still try? Charlie Brown never quits. He never quits. He always comes back, and there's going to be another comic strip the next day, and so that's always special to me. Another thing I didn't know before becoming a big Charlie Brown's fan is Charles Schultz is a member of the Church of God. I happen to be a member of the Church of God, and so that was a neat little tie-in. But in the show, and Rick kind of mentioned it a little bit, but again, here's Charlie Brown, who just is feeling bad about Christmas, so Lucy gets him to say, why don't you come be the director of the play? the Christmas play. So he comes to direct the play, and it's all about singing and dance and glitz and all of that, and he just doesn't get it. So again, they say, well, maybe it's a tree. That'll put us in the right mood. Let's go get a tree. And they send him to get the shiniest metal tree and all this. And what does he come back with but just this little sprig of a tree? And I actually have one of those that I put up in the house. I have one of those little Peanuts Christmas trees, and I do that. But the message, and when I grew up, my family wasn't, I'd say, regular church attenders. But I can, to this day, I know the story of the birth of Christ because of Linus. Because Linus said, and lo, shepherds were out in their fields at night, tending their sheep, when the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were sore afraid. And the angel said, fear not, for born to you today in the city of David is a Savior, 'tis Christ the Lord. And this will be a sign to you. You shall find the babe wrapped in swaddling clothes, lying in a manger. And he says, and that's what Christmas is all about, Charlie Brown. And so after being ridiculed, Charlie Brown goes and he loves that little tree. And everyone else finds out, that it wasn't such a bad tree if you just give it a little love. And they all come together there, and they sing around the tree, and they wish even Charlie Brown a Merry Christmas. And so for a lot of kids, or for people that maybe don't have that kind of an experience, a show like that can maybe just let a little of love of God come shining through and get to share that message. So for me, Merry Christmas, Charlie Brown, #1 special. If you don't get to watch anything else through the holiday season on TV, watch that one, and it'll be worth everything for you.
It's a wonderful. I had struggles with my #1. It's the one I'll get to in a second, but it's this more of a childhood, I guess, when this one I'm going to mention. You've already mentioned it. But, the great Rankin and Bass, we mentioned that with Frosty the Snowman, Little Drummer Boy, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeers. They've got everything. Santa Claus is coming to town. The Year Without Santa. Rudolph and Frosty's Christmas in July. The First Christmas. There's a story of a Christmas show. If you go to Rankin and Bass, research them. There's a Jack Frost stop animation, Mad Monsters. Actually it's a Halloween type of deal where they have the monsters in this. And of course, Here Comes Peter Cottontail. So even though that's not of course kind of ties in with Christmas, but I just want to let people know about them great Rankin and Bass. They also done about 5 or 6 movies. One of them was King Kong Escapes, if you believe it or not. So check them out. Also, Muppets Christmas is kind of a funny one with Michael Caine. It's an older one. The honorable mention here, Nestor, the long-eared donkey. That is a Rankin and Bass, or Rankin and Bass. I'm getting my R's and B's mixed up. Nightmare Before Christmas. That showed up on a list here, which I'll share with another website's top 10 mixtures. Also, now this is something from this is Earl when he was a young guy. Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas was an HBO special, and there ain't no hole in the washtub. So if you ever get a chance, it's probably on YouTube.
Is that black and white?
No, it's not black and white.
Oh, I thought maybe it'd be black and white.
It is, but my #1 is kind of growing up. I guess I'm a chubby guy now, but being a chubby kid, and I can identify with this movie it was Earl's #3, I believe, is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And they're talking about misfits and Rudolph and Herbie the Elf, and I'd categorize myself as one of them misfits. I wasn't not that I was unpopular, but when you're a kind of a fat toady kid, so I identified with Rudolph, and sometimes, I didn't get to play in some kind of games like Rudolph, but you know what? God loves me and my mother loves me, and I always knew that when I was a little kid, and my parents, and so it doesn't make a difference what everybody else feels. But Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the music in it is wonderful, and Rudolph saves the day, the unlikeliest, the misfit, the boy they just kind of shun, but who do they turn to? So whether you're a misfit or something, you'll save the day someday. And also, I'm going to go over real quick, starting number 1 or number 10. I had noticed on a website they had, here's How the Grinch Stole Christmas. The cartoon version was number 13. The number 12 was A Nightmare Before Christmas. Number 11 is Frosty the Snowman. Number 10, A Charlie Brown Christmas. Number 9 was National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Number 8 was Christmas Story. Number 7 is Holiday Inn, the Bing Crosby and Fred Astaire movie. Now here's one, I think I missed number 6, and we didn't talk about this one, Home Alone. We kind of forgot about that when I was number 6 on their website. Number 5 was Babes in Toyland. It's a classic with Laurel and Hardy. If you want to laugh, just check out them old boys. I don't know about number 5.
Black and white.
It's a color version too now.
Oh.
Number 4, It's a Wonderful
Turnerizing.
Life. Number 3 is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Number 2, where's it at here? Oh, is The Muppets Christmas Carol with Michael Caine. And Miracle on 31st Street was number 1, the 1947 version, according to this website I seen. But
And that Muppet song, there's a Muppet song at the end when Ebenezer is redeemed, and I'll keep Christmas all year long. It's a great little tune, and it really wraps it up really good, and that's a special little tune. And to answer a question Rick asked earlier, Sam the Snowman is the Burl Ives character in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Silver and gold, silver and gold.
And so he's the one who narrates that and tells that story. So there they are. There they are in a nutshell. The top, when you're watching TV this year and you're wanting to see something special, or you want to pick up a movie to watch, there's our list. Feel free to share with us anything we missed or what your favorite show is. Tell us why. We'd love to know what you like, and we love reading the comments and seeing what your favorite shows are. So feel free to tell us what your favorite shows are. And don't forget, you can get tickets to the Living Nativity. It's free. You can get a nice meal and watch a great program about the Christmas story. And those are free. You can come down to the office at the Leader and Times, 16 South Kansas Avenue, and pick those up. Bring a friend. Bring someone who maybe isn't familiar with the story. And what a great way to introduce them to that. And also, and those dates are 29th, 30th, 1st, and 3rd. And then December 2nd, Rick, the Christmas Parade.
Christmas Parade on Saturday, December 2nd. Do not forget to register. Look for the newspaper, look for the website, call down information, pay attention to, we usually go Facebook Live at the places we're at.
Free to register.
Free to register. Tomorrow, the 16th, is it? Or 17th? 17th, Scantlin's 1 to 5, Friday. Saturday, the 18th is 10 to 6 at Crazy House. Friday, November 24th, is Freddy's, 11 to 2. You got to go check Freddy's out. Look at the newspaper for some specials that Freddy's has. Flyer Basket is Friday, November 24th from 1 to 4. So we'll have a dual box registration there. This year, Earl, almost $8,000 or $8,000 over in prizes. We'll have first, second, and third place. You must be present to win. Scantlin's dining room set. United Wireless iPhone 8 and 3 or 4 months service. Gift certificates from Floor in America, Mead Lumber, Crazy House, Freddy's, Bunkers, IHOP. Textile has a remote start, and Flyer Basket has a Vera Bradley bag. And one thing that everybody loves is Benjamin's. Cash, cash, cash.
And these gift certificates aren't your $5, $10 variety. These are hundreds of dollars in gift certificates.
So at 3 o'clock on Saturday, we'll have dance and we'll have entertainment. Come down, listen to the singers. If you want a booth for your charity or want to raise some money, come down and contact the newspaper 626-0840. Talk to Selena and hot chocolate to pies, cookies, whatever you want to sell. Come and raise some funds there. Trevor. Call Trevor at the newspaper if you want to, and look for the registration form and for the parade float prizes. That's one thing we want to hit heavy on. We have almost $1,000 in float prizes, so your church, your organization, get together a float. And our theme this year, Earl, is
Wrap up Christmas in liberal.
Wrap up Christmas in liberal. So the parade starts at 6. And then after the parade, we will draw the names. You must be present to win. Now, we have had deals before. We call the people up and say, well, you could have won the car, you could have won this, but you weren't here, sorry, but you must be present to win. And also I want to thank Ashley Furniture and Cowboys Custom Cabinets and Crisenberry's Automotive. Crisenberry's is part of the package. You'll get some oil changes through them. Hawkins Cleaning Service, Southwest Glass and Door, French Construction and Realty One, Sepulveda's Plumbing, Heating and Air, State Farm, Roger Crossman, Mead Lumber, American Title, Abstract Specialist. So keep leaderandtimes.com to keep up, places to register, events, e-edition subscriptions we've got to where you can get the newspaper by the email. Or we got an exciting Christmas program. Comment what your top 5 or top 10, or we'd love to hear or love to see what you have to say. And we're gonna try to we'll do some more broadcasts in the future. We kind of hit it on a Southgate Mall retro businesses around liberal. And anything else you might think of? Or?
Well, and if there's a list out there or something you'd like us to cover for you, let us know. If there's something that you would like for us to talk about and share with the public, something here from Liberal, something from Southwest Kansas to Oklahoma Panhandle, or it can be TV, it can be anything. You just let us know. We'll be glad to see if it's something that we can tackle. And we just enjoy being able to share some time with you today. We appreciate you tuning in with us and sharing with us.
And one more thing, Earl, about this time of the year and Merry Christmas and what the season is I have finally figured out in my life, and it's not too late. If you put God number 1 in your life, everything else follows. I just want to tell people that. I finally realized that. If you put God number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5 in your life, and this is from the heart, will come. But put God number 1. Be humble to each other. Be kind to each other. Let somebody go before you at the checkouts, or be a humble servant. Don't be boisterous. Don't be part of the problem. Don't be the world. Be part of the solution. Peace, love. Love your enemies as if you would love. I mean, it just what great messages. And Earl, I finally have figured it out. Not that I wasn't a total pagan or anything, but I have finally figured out in my life, if you give it to Him, He will take it. He will take it, like you had said, and just go.
Just go.
Just a little kind of a testimony there.
So we encourage any of you, if this is a time of year, if you're not sure about some things, Liberal's full of great churches. Go find yourself a church home. You're welcome at any of them. We're not advocating for any specific church. We're just advocating for you to find one that you feel comfortable in. Enjoy the holiday season. Enjoy these movies. Fill yourself with the Spirit through this year. For Rick, I'm Earl with the Leader in Time. Serena is here helping us out with the camera work, so we want to thank her. Have a great holiday season. Merry Christmas, and God bless.
Merry Christmas.